Hello everybody and welcome back to another Sunday special where we go through the markets and we talk about some trade setups for the week ahead. We have a very big week this week as some very important news is going to be coming out, as well as some of this US dollar movement I'm really keeping a close eye on, and I want to talk to you guys about my thoughts on it. So in today's video, I'm going to be going through some of my top trading setups for the week ahead. I actually have no positions open at this time. Some of you guys might have seen the dollar Swiss trade that I took. I ended up taking a trade right around here. It went into profit, and then I ended up taking a break-even trade on that one. So I want to give this one another try, but I'm going to be watching it this week. So keep an eye. For those of you guys who are premium members, make sure to keep an eye on that, because I think I'm going to try for another US dollar bullish trade if I can find one, but I'm going to be patient with it and see what the market sets up. With that said, that reminds me that we actually have a membership sale going on. We don't do these very often, but we actually have a sale going on for our gold membership. Now, inside of our private group, if you've liked my content, if you've been with me for a while, if you've been watching my videos and you've sort of been on the sidelines and been interested in joining our group, now is your chance, because we're actually doing 25% off of our gold membership. Our community is a place where traders come together from all around the world. We have people from Australia, people from Asia, people from America, people from Mexico, Europe, wherever, right? And they come together, and we are looking to build a really good community of genuine traders. This is not BS. We're not here to tell you you're going to be rich or anything like that, but we are basically opening up our gold membership to people for 25% off. There's a code down below in the description. It is YTVIP. If you use that code, you're going to get 25% off of our membership. Let me tell you what you get inside of it, and then we're going to jump into some trade ideas for this week. But I got to give you guys my pitch, because we're looking for more genuine members. Okay, so you get to see our trades in real time, my trades, as well as a couple other analysts that are part of our team. You get to see our live 24/7 trading 24/7 trading community. Yes, our chat room. So you get access to our chat room. You get access to all of our software tools if you're a gold member, which includes things like the Grandmaster Forex robot, the A1 trading dashboard, the engulfing candlestick pattern hunter. You've got all sorts of tools. And you also get access to our training material, which includes almost daily live webinars with Joe Barreca. He's one of our coaches out of Australia, 14-year trading veteran, and quite the experienced guy to learn with. And then of course, it's a one-time fee. So if you choose to join us, then this is just a one-time fee. You don't have to pay recurring membership fees or anything like that. And there's a link to all this down below in the description. Okay, with that said, I just want to make you guys aware, because some people are always like looking for a chance to join us for a discount, and there it is. That's your chance. So if you have any interest, again, check it out. Link down below in the description. Without further ado, let's talk more about some of these trade setups that I've been thinking about. Now, I want to talk about the week ahead, because this is big. So in the week ahead, we have some really interesting stuff. In the stock market world, we're entering earnings season, which is a big deal, because that's where major companies like Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Alphabet is Google, by the way, where they report their quarterly earning, which is a pretty big deal. On top of that, we have some central banks, including the US, Japan, US, Eurozone, and Mexico, that are going to be releasing their estimates for Q1 GDP. This is a big deal, because they're going to be releasing basically their estimates of how fast their economies respectively are growing. So keep an eye on that. That's going to be big information that really could move the dollar, could move the euro, of course, Mexico and South Korea, but the major ones being that US and the euro. So the reason that this is so important is because, as you guys may have noticed if you've been watching the markets closely, the US dollar itself has been on a absolute sell-off. We've had a lot of sell pressure here on the US dollar, and it's been truthfully a little bit confusing, because we've had some really good economic data out of the US dollar recently. We had good retail sales, growth is still looking positive. And for me, it's one of those things. I think that there are probably some good potential trade setups coming up in the US dollar. Now, I talked about this week. I talked about that on dollar Swiss. Unfortunately, that trade didn't really work out amazingly. It just was a slightly profitable trade, not really a big profit or anything like that. but my idea was I thought that this level could hold. It did hold short term, ended up taking a small profit and moved on. So I think that it's a chance maybe to renew some of those ideas. Now, of course, if I take any trades this week, they will go right out to members inside of the private group. All of my trades end up going right in there for members to see. I'll pull it up so you guys can see what it looks like. Here's that dollar Swiss trade that I took. We'll pull it up. So it looks like this, right? So I took that trade on dollar Swiss. Nice little technical setup there. It did bounce short term, but then ultimately I ended up taking a very small profit there on that trade. So anyways, yeah, so if I take any trades, that's where they're going to be dropped. So when I'm looking at the DXY, I still think that there is chance for this US dollar to rally, but it's going to be very dependent on the news releases this week. Do we get some positive news for the US dollar? Well, let's go take a look at USD Swiss. We'll take a look at some other currency pairs as well, but we're going to start with this one here just because I want to talk about some of these demand levels that we are coming into contact with. So we did get a bounce off this. There's no denying that there was some try by the bulls to get off of the lows here. On top of that, however, we've got a lot of downside momentum here. And so it's going to be a big thing this week to see if we can double bottom and hold this level, maybe try and make a break for it, or if this is going to fail. And I think that if this fails, if the DXY or the US dollar, right? If the US dollar has more weakness going into this week, we could very well see some of these key demand levels that we're sitting on, like on dollar yen, dollar Swiss. We could see those break and maybe head to fresh levels of demand. And that might be what I'm going to start out watching for on the US dollar against the Swiss franc, because this is a currency pair that I would prefer to be long on. I'm not a fan of buying the Swiss franc at this time. The SNB, the Swiss National Bank, has actually come out and said that they want to do some currency intervention. They want to weaken their own currency because of the trade war advantages. Okay, so they want their currency to be weaker, meaning that they want the dollar to rally against the Swiss franc. On top of that, the US dollar numbers still look pretty promising to me, and I think that it is still bullish. So I'm looking for chances to buy on this currency pair. This is probably my most watched one right now. So keeping an eye on this area, and if this breaks, maybe trying for this break here. Now, I could be completely wrong about this, so please remember, these are my ideas, these are my thought processes. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money or anything like that. These are just this is my analysis, right? So I think that the dollar is a bargain at some point here, and I think that it is due for a pullback and that there could be some nice trade setups forming this week. So let's go look at another one. We'll take a look at USDJPY. So we're looking at dollar against the Japanese yen, and so this one already sort of made the break. This one broke this level that we were watching. So for me, the dollar yen is sort of a pause on a technical perspective. I don't really see a huge level of interest in terms of a place to buy this currency pair. So in fact, to be fair, this little uptrend that we had looks pretty compromised at this time. So we've had a lot of downwards pressure, and for me, no action on the dollar yen until we start to see a break higher, something like this. Now, I do want to say there's one thing that really makes me want to buy this currency pair. So I'm looking for bullish setups, but I got to see the setup first. One of the major things is that Japan is actually having some trouble still with the old pandemic. I mean, we all are, right? Every country is battling this thing, but we had some recent development in Japan where they had to do some more quarantine stuff, right? They're still trying to, they're having a little bit of trouble with that. Now, that's not me trying to take advantage or anything like that, but when that happens, that is a slow thing for GDP. It's potentially a warning sign that things could roll over more for Japan in the short term. So for me, that's another reason why I'd really prefer to be long on the dollar, as the vaccine rollout has been has been improving, has been perceived as very strong. So for me, the dollar is still just looking for buy setups. If I can get them this week, then great. Very much going to be coming down to what happens with the Fed and their predictions for Q1 2022, like I said. But we will keep an eye on all of that for sure this week, especially on the US dollar news that we're going to be watching for. Okay, so with that said, we've taken a look at the dollar Swiss, we've taken a look at the dollar yen. What about the old Euro USD? Now, I'm not going to lie, you guys, this one is confusing me. So we had a little bit of a reflationary trade going on the Euro USD. Now, the euro dollar has actually been on a strong upward move. In fact, it really just broke right through what I was expecting would hold pretty well, which was this level, this trend line here to the downside. And more importantly, last week, I thought we would hold this level. I thought we would really be able to hold such a strong point of resistance. But this just goes to show you guys, when the fundamentals really do shift, the technicals don't necessarily care, right? Or I guess the fundamentals don't really care about the technicals when they really shift. In fact, we see what was a really beautiful technical downward level just totally get violated, right? So we came up to this point, consolidated, and then just went boop, sorry, right going through. So what do we do with the euro dollar? So for those of you guys who've been watching me, then you know that I've been bearish on this currency pair. I haven't really traded it heavily. I've taken one loss on the way up here. I sold right around here, got stopped out, and then I've sort of taken a pause. I didn't take this trade. I really wanted to, but I had another euro trade at the same time open. I believe I was short on euro Aussie, and so I don't like to expose myself to too many of the same currencies at the same time. It's just one of those things, like when I take a trade on the euro USD and the euro Aussie and the euro CAD, that's 3 euro trades, right? If I took all 3 of those trades, EA, EU, and EC, I'm really opening myself up to movements on the euro, right? And so I don't want to overexpose. So at the time of this, when this was going on, I did want to short the EU. So I did think that this was going to head lower, but I was more interested in taking the EA short. And fortunately, this was actually a winner. So I took a winner last week on EA, on euro against the Australian dollar. Closed out, ended up reversing, but I was able to take a profit before then. So very, very nice move there on EA last week, and happy that that one worked out. Now with the euro dollar moving higher now, I'm still on pause, because what's basically happened is, from what I understand, the fundamentals are that there is new optimism, that there's refreshed sort of view on economic outlook in Europe. The vaccine rollout is increasing in pace. Things are looking a little bit better and a little bit more promising for the end of the year on the euro dollar. Now, I'm not necessarily rushing to buy the euro either. You guys will know I've been pretty bearish on the euro, as they've been sort of lagging everything in terms of vaccine rollouts and GDP bounce back. So for me, keeping an eye on this euro USD, I would honestly, if anything, I'm still bearish on this currency pair, especially if we get some positive US dollar news. If we make our way up this week and we try and poke up into 1.215, if we get up into these upper areas of previous resistance, I would very much be interested in possibly taking a short if I have room for it. To be honest with you, though, I have more favorite US dollar exposure trades right now. Like I mentioned, that dollar Swiss trade seems pretty interesting to me if I can get a little bit more of a pullback there. So keeping an eye on that. So euro dollar is one that I am also still bearish on. I think that this thing is getting a bit stretched to the upside. If we make a little pop higher, then I think that this might be interesting. Now, the one more thing that I'm going to say is that the US dollar has been on a really big, strong downtrend for the last few weeks. Now, the thing is, it's a little bit confusing as to why the US dollar has been so bearish when some of the news has come out positive. Well, here's the thing. A lot of times, even when you get positive news, this is a confusing thing, right? You get this move here that is the euro rising against the dollar, showing dollar weakness. Well, what's confusing a lot of times is when you get positive news and yet still bearish prices for the dollar. Why is that? Well, a lot of times it's because people already anticipated that the US dollar was going to be strong. Remember, markets trade based on future outlook, not current events. So it's a little bit confusing to the newer traders out there, but if there is good news out there, but it's not as good as people were thinking, it could actually move bearish. So, let's say that the euro has something coming up and it's a big deal, and they say, we think it's going to be really good, and going into the event, people are very bullish and they say, okay, it's going to be really, really good, but then it comes out and it's like, it's kind of good. It could cause the euro to drop, right? So that's where you see it's all about future expectations for markets. With that said, the US dollar this week for their Q1 predictions are actually anticipated to be very bullish. So as price pulls back on the US dollar pairs, you can see again the US dollar getting beat up against the euro. I think that at some point here, if that news comes out positive, it could actually really cause the euro dollar to get some sort of a pullback here. So might be a trade to keep an eye out on this week. But yeah, comment down below. What do you guys think about the euro dollar? If you're watching this and you have opinions on any of these things that I'm looking at, feel free to chime in and add your comment down below. Let's continue on. So we've taken a look at that. I want to talk about the pound dollar because I think that if the pound dollar can get a bit more of a pullback here, it could be a buy against the US dollar, honestly, with the US dollar still struggling. Technically, watching some of these zones could be interesting going into this week and the next few weeks. So let's talk about this. So I think that the pound is sort of is expected to continue higher. There is a strong outlook for the pound as things have rebounded well in the UK. Things have sort of bounced back a lot better than expected, and with this thing pulling back, I think that if you get deeper retracements, there may be some room for, stronger, longer term pound dollar movements. I think that the range here truly is, so I've mentioned a couple times that on GU, I'm pretty bullish on both of these currencies. I'm bullish on the US dollar, and I'm pretty bullish on the pound as well. Both of these economies have sort of come out hot out of the pandemic. They've been doing well. And so for me, that means that I'm not necessarily super interested in saying, well, the pound dollar is going to go to the moon, right? Because I'm bullish on both of these currencies. So for the pound dollar to go to the moon, what that would mean is that the pound would have to get really strong and the US dollar would relatively have to get very weak, right? So for me, if anything, I think that there's probably some slight bias towards the pound, especially with the whole pandemic story still playing out. If price were to give us some discounts here, if price were to pull back sharply enough, there could be some room for demand to pick up some long setups on the pound dollar for me. And that's sort of, you could argue that it's already kind of happened. And so maybe if you're still a bull on the pound dollar, if you think that this thing is really headed higher, maybe there's room for this level to retest and continue something like that this week. But for me, since I'm not in this trade, what would really be of interest to me would, of course, be that move, should it happen, back to this previous low. I think that this area could be some good level of demand should we drop to those points. So that's what I'm watching for on the old pound dollar. Let me know what you guys think. So let's look at gold because I know gold is a popular one, and we'll see what's going on with this. Again, another one that's going to be impacted by U.S. outlook for Q1 next year this week. So again, because with gold, we're talking about the U.S. dollar versus the gold market. Also, of course, one big thing to always keep an eye on with gold, if you're trading like me, if you're more of a swing trader, if you're looking for the bigger moves, is, of course, the bond yield. And if the bond yield continues to rise, that is bearish for gold because people could be putting their money into bonds versus gold, right? If the bond yield goes up, then that could cause gold. People would say, gold, not so interested, would rather get a yield on my money, right? Right now, I believe bonds are at what, 1.5, 1.6%. It's sort of expected, though, that they could continue to rise, maybe even up to 2% by the end of the year. That's a lot of different outlooks of some major financial groups. I believe Citibank also believes that bonds are expected to rise. You've got, that could cause some demand for the dollar. That could also cause people to move away from gold into bonds. Well, why would this be the case? Well, gold and bonds are both sort of this concept of a sort of hedge against inflation, or a perceived hedge against inflation. It's not always perfect and things don't always work out in markets, but the idea is that if you have the choice between these two, if bonds produce a higher yield per year, like the way bonds work is you buy a bond, and then the very simple concept is they pay you interest on your money per year, and then they give you your money back at the end of the tie-up period, if you will. So as this percent goes up, it sort of lures investors in. It's like, okay, well, that's a higher payout, so I might as well buy bonds, whereas gold pays 0% interest per year. Gold is just a rock, right? It is a metal, so it is basically not going to give you some sort of percent. A bond is backed by a government or corporate bonds or whatever, and they pay you some sort of yield. So if this yield goes up, it could be bearish for gold. If this yield goes down, it could be bullish for gold, right? Because the opposite could happen should we see as a terrible color, but we could see the opposite happen. So keep an eye on the bond yield. That's one thing to point out. On top of that, I've mentioned that short term, I still think that the gold could have more room to the upside. I think that we are probably going to tag 1810, and we could, if things stay bullish, if things continue to be bearish for the dollar, maybe even see a move up to 1850. Okay, so these are where I think short term gold could go. Mid to long term, I am neutral / bearish on gold, okay? And again, that has to do with the bond yield because we've got the rest of 2021. If bond yields continue to rise during that time, it could be bearish for gold, puts pressure on the gold market. So, again, pullbacks to these points, perceived levels of demand here. I think that there could be room for more upside, maybe up to 1810. And of course, if we really get bullish, 1850 could be in the works. So these are my thoughts. I think for the bulls out there, not the worst place for a pullback here. Honestly, I think that this area, if you're a little bit shorter term, if you're looking at this level as, you know, a place to put stops beneath, something like this, that already gives you more than a 2-to-1. There's a nice little trade potential there. And if price really got going, that's a 5-to-1 should that thing work out. So that's my thoughts on gold. Of course, like I say always, this is not me giving you financial advice or telling you what to do with your money. This is just me sharing my opinions. But I think that that's not the worst trade in the world there. I like that little pullback to this upward trend line that we've been keeping an eye on in the live streams. By the way, if you're enjoying this content, we're running a little bit longer than usual. We're at 21 minutes here on the video. If you like these and you want to spend more time with me on the live streams, Monday through Friday, at 9 a.m. Eastern, I go live, and we've got some fun stuff planned for the week ahead. We're going to be doing more shows with a couple different hosts, and we're looking to do some cool stuff there. We're trying to hire a new producer, and things at the office are sort of getting exciting for the summer. So stay tuned to everything we got coming out. But yeah, that's my thoughts there for gold, you guys. And I think that's going to be pretty much it for the video. Before I wrap it up, I do want to remind you guys, if you like my content, if you like the way I trade, if you think you would like to work more closely with myself and the rest of my team, definitely check out that opportunity that we have with the gold membership going on this week. That is available, I believe, until the end of the month or something like that. But there's a couple days for you to jump in on that if you want to get access. YT Live, code down below in the description, and you get access. Like I said, you can see all the trades that I take when I take them. It's not a signal service. It's me just sharing my thoughts and my ideas. Like always, if you really want to be a trader, the idea is you should probably take complete ownership. You should put in the work. You should put in the time. But if you're looking for a community to join, there's a reason we put a price tag on it. If you made it to the end of this video and you're still listening, the reason we put a price tag on it is for the same reason why you probably made it to the end of the video. If you made it to the end of the video, we are looking for serious people only. We don't want a bunch of spammers. We don't want people who don't take it seriously. We're looking for genuine traders who want to invest the time and the energy and find other people to work with. It's a place to collaborate with other members. It's a place to read up on what more experienced traders are looking at in the markets, and really it's a way just to up your trading game. If you end up buying the membership and you stay for a year, right? Let's say you buy the gold membership. I think it's $300 if you use that promo code. That comes down to less than $1 a day if you stay for a year. It's really not so expensive, and we've done our best to put the price as low as possible to get as many serious traders in here as we can. Okay, so that's what I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for being here this week. Another Sunday special. I think this one was a pretty good one and a very, very interesting week ahead. So hope to see some of you guys in the trading community, and we'll see you back in the next one.